Okay, think about this for a second. What if we could just eliminate crime? All of it. Not with more laws, not with a stronger economy, but by unlocking a hidden function inside our own brains. Today, we're diving into a really radical theory from an author who suggests the secret to a perfect society isn't political, it's biological. So the author starts with this huge question. What if all of our efforts to create social harmony, with laws, economics, all that stuff, are completely missing the point? What if it's not about what we believe, but about our shared biology? I mean, just imagine a world where peace is a physiological state. If that were true, it would change literally everything we think we know about how societies work. So what's the bedrock for this kind of society? According to the author, it's not shared laws, it's not culture, not even common values. Nope. It's something much deeper, something hardwired into us, our physiology. The theory states that for a society to be truly harmonious, its members have to be in a similar biological state. And here's the real core of the argument. It's not just about general health. It's about a very specific shared mental state. The idea is that when this one single brain function is aligned across an entire population, harmony is the natural result. So, what exactly is this mysterious function?
Well, that brings us to the absolute centerpiece of this whole theory, something the author calls the human thinking function. And believe me, understanding this concept is the key to everything that follows.
So, the human thinking function, or HTF for short. What is it? Well, the author defines it as a physiological function of the brain that, get this, science hasn't even discovered yet. Think about that for a second. An unknown mechanism that they argue is the single most important characteristic that makes us human. Okay, so the author builds this idea on three main points. First, a healthy HTF is the foundation for everything, our mental and physical well-being. Second, we can actually improve our HTF by using health knowledge to activate it. But it's this third point that's a real curveball. A society is harmonious as long as everyone's HTF is in a similar state. And that means a society could be harmonious even if everyone is unhealthy, as long as they all share the same exact ailment? Wild, right? So if a shared state, any shared state, creates harmony, what causes all the conflict and crime? The author's answer is pretty straightforward. Disease. They argue that societal problems are basically a form of pathology, a direct result of people having unhealthy and, crucially, dissimilar human thinking functions. So the contrast here is pretty stark. On one side, you have harmony, which comes from our internal states being similar. On the other, you have conflict, which pops up when they're all over the place. And, according to the author, the root cause of this mess is just simple ignorance, a global lack of awareness that this function even exists in the first place. And this is where the theory gets really radical. The author makes a very direct, and let's be honest, controversial claim. I'm going to read this directly from the source. They link major crimes, like assassinations, to what they call thinking function pathology. The implication here is pretty staggering, that crime isn't really a moral failing, but a medical condition. Now, after laying out this unique diagnosis of society's problems, the author proposes a solution, and it's a big one. They lay out a path to achieve what they call a perfect form of social harmony. See, the ultimate goal isn't just any kind of harmony. It's a specific state the author calls benign harmony. This is the ideal world, where everyone's human thinking function is not just aligned, but aligned in a state of perfect health. So how do we get there? Well, there's a 4-step plan. Step 1, promote this new science of the HTF. Step 2, launch a massive global human thinking function health movement. Step 3, use that movement to get everyone's HTF on the same healthy level. And the final result, at least in theory, is a perfect society with a 0 crime rate. But just as you're starting to picture this utopian vision, the author throws in a major wrench. They actually predict that this grand solution is basically doomed to fail because it would face opposition from the very people it's supposed to help. And this, right here, is the central paradox of the whole theory. The author hands us a key to a perfect world, and then immediately claims that pretty much every institution out there, political, economic, social, would fight tooth and nail to stop it from ever happening. The solution is right there, but we're predicted to just reject it. What's so fascinating is that the author doesn't really offer a way out of this paradox. Instead, they leave us, the readers, with 2 final, very challenging questions. The first question is basically a prompt to think about the why. Why would our society refuse a path to perfect harmony? What powerful forces or interests would stand in the way of a movement that promises a world without crime? And that leads to the final, really provocative challenge. The author basically turns the problem over to us. They ask, if you believed this theory was true, how would you make it happen? Knowing you'd face universal resistance, how on earth could you launch a movement to create this crime-free world? And that's the big question we're left to chew on.